No, he told me to use his cell phone. That's worrisome. He could have been anywhere when you called. Hit me up on my cell phone if you find out anything and try to sort this mess out. Get a taxi to the hotel. Got it. See you. I was soaked in sweat. If John put that photo on my laptop, it pretty much means we're done. I had to get back to the hotel to figure things out. The person at the desk got me a cab, and I was at the hotel in no time. I went straight to the reception to ask if anyone got into my room. The person working there checked their system and told me a Mr. John Baker was given a key at 9:45 last night, and he gave it back 30 minutes later. That's when it hit me hard that my marriage was probably over. The man I loved more than anything was gone, but I was determined to try and win him back. I went up to my room and immediately tried calling John's cell phone. In his office, his phone was off, so I left a voicemail that it was really important for him to call me back. His secretary said he was on a business trip in California and would be back tomorrow. So he went to California and might have stopped by to surprise me on his way back. Looks like we both ended up being surprised. I called his parents, and they said they hadn't seen him in a few days. I asked them to tell him to call me as soon as they hear from him. I tried calling our house too, but no one answered. I left a message there as well, hoping he'd call back soon. Sitting alone in the room, I couldn't stop crying. With no other way to reach him, I quickly booked the next flight back to St. Louis. After packing up, I called David on my phone to tell him what was going on. He was silent for a moment before saying, "Jessica, it looks like we might both be facing divorces or maybe something even worse." Worse than a divorce? What could that be? Our company has strict rules against manager dating. If word gets out, we could both lose our jobs. It wouldn't be good for either of our careers. Oh no, I didn't think about that. Losing John already feels like the world is ending. Losing my job on top of that would be too much. But right now, I need to go back to St. Louis and try to talk to John. Maybe there's a chance to fix things. I've got a flight leaving at noon, and I'll be back in St. Louis by 4:30. I have to find him and talk. I'll let you know how it goes. I have to stay here until we finish our business talks. I'll be waiting to hear from you. After saying goodbye, I grabbed my things and hurried to the lobby, checked out, and took the hotel's limo to the airport. On the flight back to St. Louis, all I could do was hope that I could get John to talk to me. I wanted to make it clear that what happened was just physical and didn't mean anything emotionally. I hoped he would be able to see my cheating as just a one-time thing without feelings attached. When I got back home, everything looked normal at first, but when I went into our bedroom and saw his clothes and stuff were gone, I realized he knew and had left me. I needed to find him. After trying to call him many times and not getting through, I decided to go to his parents' place to see if I could find him or get any information from them. Seeing him at his parents' house was really tough. He was so cold and distant, it made me feel sick. He told me straight up he was going to divorce me, and I didn't. I didn't care at all about what I had to say. Nothing would change his mind. When he told me to write a letter explaining my side, it just felt like he was twisting the knife. I had to leave and go cry in my car. The future we planned together was falling apart. We wouldn't have the family we wanted, grow old together, or enjoy grandchildren. In the middle of feeling so low, I also worried selfishly that I might be too old to have kids by the time I found someone new. Eventually, I found the energy to start the car and head back to what felt like an empty house, overwhelmed by a deep feeling of loss and not knowing what comes next. John goes on with his story. After a restless night haunted by images of Jessica and David together, I got up early and went downstairs at my parents' place to make some coffee. Feeling down, I grabbed my laptop and camera, ready to go through the photos on the camera. I was obsessed with finding David in those photos. As I looked through the pictures, I couldn't make out David's face clearly, but I kept looking and finally noticed something on his right arm as he reached out to Jessica. When I zoomed in, I saw what I was looking for, a tattoo. Zooming in more, I saw a heart tattoo with J8 written inside it. Janie 8 inches is David's wife's name. With this proof, I went back upstairs, took a shower, and got ready for work. By the time I came back down, my mom was busy making breakfast. At work, I immediately made a few CDs with the photos showing the affair and a close-up of David's tattoo. I also printed out several copies and put everything in a folder. Feeling determined, I went straight to the HR department to talk to the manager, Chad. We knew each other from working at the same small company and even played golf together once. I laid out the photos in front of him and waited for him to react. "What's this, John?" he asked, looking both curious and amused. "Sorry, Chad, it looks wrong, but that's my wife and David Price." The photos were taken on Tuesday night in David's hotel room in Denver. As you can tell by the date and time on them, they were on a business trip for negotiations for our company. "Oh no, John, that's tough to hear. What's your plan?" "You could fire them both for breaking the no dating rule in their job contracts. We've never actually done that before. Are you sure you want to go through with it? It'll make the affair public. And are you thinking of divorcing Jessica?" "I've already told my lawyer to start working on the divorce papers, but if the company doesn't do anything, I'll have to sue the company." "All right, John, I'll talk to our legal team and get things started." Then I went to tell my boss, Hubert, about what was going on in my personal life. He was really surprised and worried when he heard about my wife and David Price. I asked for the rest of the week off as vacation, and he agreed without hesitation. Before we said goodbye, he praised me for my work on the California trip. He told me the customer was really happy with how quickly I solved their problem and got their production line running again. He also mentioned the possibility of me taking over the California area because the current engineer is retiring for health reasons. I said I'd think about it and let him know my decision next week. When I was leaving Hubert's office, his secretary, Lucy, stopped me. "John, your wife came by looking for you. She said she'd come back later." "Lucy, I don't want to see my wife at all. Please tell her that if she comes back." "Oh, John, I'm so sorry. I didn't know there was a problem." "There's a big problem, Lucy. We're getting a divorce. She and David Price have been cheating." I figured everyone at work would know by lunchtime since Lucy loves to chat. When I got back to my desk, I called David's wife, Janet. We've seen each other at work events, but telling her about our partners was going to be tough. "Janet, it's John Baker. How are you?" "I'm okay, John. David said you might call but didn't say why." "Janet, we need to talk. Is now a good time?" "Sure, John. I have to go to the hairdresser at 1, but I'm free now. You know where I live, right?" "Yes, I do. I'll be there in 15 minutes." When I got to the Prices, I was nervous about what I had to do. I couldn't let David get off easy and leave Jessica to deal with everything. "Hi, John. Come in. Do you want some coffee?" "I just made it," Janet said, welcoming me and pointing to the living room. "Sure thing, Janet. Just plain black, please," I said. After a short while, she came back with a coffee and sat down across from me. "So, what's up?" she asked. I thought about breaking it to her gently, but decided to just be direct. "I need to tell you something tough," I said, wanting to get it done. "Janet, I saw your husband and my wife together in Denver. I'm divorcing Jessica and getting them fired from their jobs. I hate being the one to break this news, but it's going public soon, and I wanted to give you a heads up. I have photos if you want proof." I watched her closely for a reaction, but she didn't show much emotion. "John, I've had suspicions about David's behavior on his business trips for a while now, though I hoped they weren't true," she admitted. "David has always been a loving husband and dad, and I didn't want to think about the possibility, but I realized that sooner or later their affair would come out into the open. I guess this is it. I'm really sorry for what you're dealing with in your marriage and for my own side too. I feel bad for what might happen to David. He's at an age where finding another job with the same pay could be tough. Now I've got to figure out what to do next. Would you like a copy of the pictures I have?" I asked. "Yes, please leave them. I'll find the courage to look at them," Janet replied quietly. "I'm truly sorry, Janet. I couldn't ignore this. Jessica and I were close to starting a family, but I can't see a future with someone I can't trust or respect. The mother of our kids needs both of those things," I explained, my voice heavy with sadness. "I get it, John. Thanks for being straight with me. I'd rather hear it from you first, and I want to say again how sorry I am about what's happening with Jessica. I'm sure she feels awful too, and David will when he finds out I know about their affair. I just wish it was a one-time thing. It'd be easier to forgive." but I think it's been happening for years, and that's hard to take. Now that it's out there, I've got my pride, and I need to keep my head up, Janet said, her voice sounding both sad and determined. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know, I said genuinely as I got ready to leave and head back to my parents' place. Epilogue. It's been 6 months since I started the divorce process. This morning, I got the final paper officially ending my marriage to Jessica. I hadn't talked to her or seen her since the day she came to my parents' place. My lawyer handled everything in the divorce deal. I gave up the house, which had a big mortgage, along with all the furniture and stuff I bought on credit, just to cut ties with her completely. I also got my name taken off the mortgage, so she was on the hook for all the payments. Without my steady income, she had to sell the house, and she took a big hit financially. At first, she tried to fight the divorce, but I gave her an ultimatum: sign the papers in 48 hours or I'd change the reason for the divorce to cheating and put the pictures of her and David online. Under the pressure, she agreed within the time limit, and that's why I'm a free man now. It seems like she realized she didn't want me that much after all. Even though Jessica lost her job because of what happened, she's a smart lawyer and managed to land a new job within a month. It might not pay as much or have the same perks as her old one, but I've heard she's getting by and has even started dating again. Good luck to her new boyfriend, whoever he is. I can't help but wonder if she's told him about our divorce and why it happened. Maybe I should tell him myself. David divorced and left him struggling financially. Even though he got fired, he found a new job, but his new salary makes it hard for him to keep up with alimony and child support. As for me, I've settled in Santa Maria, California, a peaceful coastal town halfway between the Bay Area and Los Angeles. This place lets me easily get to both the northern and southern parts of the state. I moved here about 4 months ago and now live in an apartment building full of singles and young couples, many of whom are saving money to buy a house. The cost of housing here is high, making it expensive to get into the market. I've also found companionship with a woman who lives in the same building. Like me, she's been through a divorce, but we've found comfort and compatibility with each other. We're taking things slow, seeing if there's a future for us together. Since I travel a lot for work, trust is really important in any relationship, especially if we think about having kids someday. The ticking of biological clocks reminds me that time doesn't wait for anyone, so I'm thinking about making a move sooner rather than later.